This is the sixth entry for my personal project and for my personal project process journal. It is the 29th of September, and it is Sunday. Last Friday, I had a meeting with my supervisor, Miss Jackie, and we talked about a few things and also jotted down a few notes in the in the minutes of the meetings. So I told Miss Jackie about the Control Paint website, which will be one of the main resources that I will use for my personal project, because it's a really useful website for searching for Photoshop tutorials. And so yeah. The other option that we had in mind for a resource for my personal project was the publications department of SWA. But the problem with that, we discussed this in a meeting, was that the publications department used Photoshop in order to make posters and also event calendars or info bites or whatever. Mostly like publishing and not technical, publishing and article writing stuff, rather than it's much different than painting in Photoshop and making illustration. And so I expressed that problem to Miss Jackie, and she agreed with me that that was a problem, because painting and using Photoshop to paint and using Photoshop to write is two totally different things. And so I have made a decision that I would still meet up with the publications department and ask them about some of the tools that I don't know how to use in Photoshop, see if they know how to use them, and I guess that would still prove to be helpful. And so yeah. Other things that we discussed in the meeting was last entry's problem, which was what artworks I was going to make for my personal project. And one of the things we discussed was fan art, of current really popular anime. I got this inspiration from um, last something month, I forgot, uh, anime convention. And some Indonesian artists, they're really amazing, and they make like a bunch of stuff with Photoshop, mostly fan art, and basically they make them into merchandises, into pins and postcards and posters and whatnot, and then they sell them in that convention. And so that I discussed this with Miss Jackie and asked if this could be an option for a personal project. Like I could make fan art of certain animes and movies and whatnot, anything that's popular, and I could make them into merchandise, which I could sell to the student body. And then one of the ideas I had to do with the money was to give it basically to the arts department, because what I heard so far is that the arts department, actually not just the arts department but every other department in school, hasn't gotten a budget yet. And so right now the art curriculum is really needing supplies, but then they have no budget to pay for the supplies. And so that's one of the things I could do, is to raise money with my artwork in order to fund for the arts program, basically. I guess that was an idea that I had, and I discussed with Miss Jackie, and she said that she was going to email Mr. Paul about it to ask if that was possible. And so I'm still waiting for a reply on that. What I need to do now is to look through Control Paint, the website that I've decided to work with, and I need to watch a lot of tutorials there, and I need to jot them down in a notebook. And those notes will prove to be helpful for my own personal project, because it's a tutorial, so I can use Control Paint as a resource for my own Photoshop tutorial. And I was thinking of also searching for a book about using Photoshop. It's always good to have as much resources as possible. And I've decided to plan a deadline that by the October break, I need to already have started planning out what should go in the book, what should go in my Photoshop tutorial book, and yeah. I also need to draw the character that I'll be using constantly in the book to present the tutorial, because that was the idea in the first place, is to have a fictional character that will present the information to make it more interesting, to give it a more creative and visual aspect. And yeah, and one more thing is I decided that every weekend, I need to make at least one artwork that will help me practice using Photoshop as well, because it's been a while since I used it, and so that would prove to be helpful. End of entry.